Welcome to Alabama Department of Public Health's CSI. Now, it's not Crime Scene Investigation. It stands for Customer Service Initiative. And let me tell you a little bit about myself. Not because I'm that important, but because why are you here listening on demand or whatever it may be to somebody stand up here and talk about customer service? I mean, if there's one subject, y'all, besides maybe stress management that has been done a million times, it's customer service. But we're going to talk about why is it important. My name is Charlene Smith, and I work for Troy University, helping to start the first continuing education department that they've had worldwide. And public health approached me about an effort, an initiative that needs to be done. To be perfectly honest, wherever I speak or train or consult, one of the things I talk to people about is you can do training and you can put knowledge in somebody's head. But until you start an effort to change everybody, the culture doesn't change. Just yesterday, I was talking to a group of leaders out at a supplier company here in Montgomery, Alabama. And one of the things we talked about was you can sit through 30 training sessions that I'll have with them. But things aren't going to change until you really work on an entire initiative or effort in order to change your culture. So what are we doing here with customer service in public health? First of all, let me just give you one quote that had actually been in several studies, and that is, if you ask CEOs, and different surveys have asked CEOs, what is the most serious problem you're going to have between now and 2020? Not the TV show, the year 2020. I would have thought they would say, the economy. Am I going to be able to stay open? Maybe it would be profits to shareholders. Maybe it would even be a labor pool, an employment pool with the right skills. But no, across the United States, what has been said time and time again is it's employees treating customers the way they need to be treated, whether internal or external. And y'all, this ranges, if you say, well, who are some of the potential clients or clients, Charlene, that you deal with year in and year out? Y'all, it can be manufacturing companies, it can be doctor's offices, hospital systems, it can be furniture stores, yes, called into furniture stores. It can be car dealerships. So, I mean, and of course, marketing, accounting, anything else you add in. But y'all, customer service is now a wide range problem. And you probably have all the stories that you need to deal with customer service. Also in your personal life, you've come across some different, we'll just say, employees who treat you less than what is adequate for your service. But let's look about what is public health doing about this? What do they want to do about this? Well, first of all, we're going to start out, and what you're seeing on demand as you watch today is going to be the first of 7 two-hour seminars on customer service. And this is going to run June through September of this year for all ADPH supervisors and employees. So you may say, do we have to watch it? Eventually, you'll be watching 7 of these. Now, we're going to make them as entertaining as possible. We're not going to go over the very basic information. And I'll bring in some things that'll make it more interesting to what you do. And, by the way, with each one of these, you'll have a little bitty homework assignment. Now, why is that? Do I think I'm a teacher? Okay, yeah, I am a teacher. But it's not like I believe you're in elementary school or high school or whatever and need homework. It's so that we can put into practice what we learn. Because until a knowledge becomes an ability that we demonstrate, we haven't changed anything. The homework assignments are not essay questions. It's going to be very short, brief, things you could do, probably sit down in 5 or 10 minutes and get done. Second, starting about, we'll start using them October 1 of this year, I'm going to be helping public health develop R&Rs. Y'all remember, that's the old performance appraisals, responsibilities and results, that will measure how well supervisors, employees, and employees implement the things we talk about. What are they going to be based on, the new R&Rs? The objectives that'll be pretty much be the second slide of every program. And if you looked at the page on which these on-demands are the main page when you bring it up, the objectives are listed there. And we're going to turn those into R&Rs because y'all, customer service has become such an issue, and I don't mean a bad issue in public health, but everywhere. It's now an issue that we have to pay attention to. Also, we will have a few, not many, supervisory seminars on how you rate employees on these customer service R&Rs, and here's why. We want everybody to be rating consistently, reliably, across the gamut, regardless of what county, what bureau, what division you're in. So we'll be talking about that. And then from this June 1st to December 31st of 2016, there's going to be an extensive department-wide communication plan, which is just big words to say we're going to continue this with varying efforts involving communication on developing an entire customer-focused culture in public health. And that will be after, it'll start about October 1. It will be after we have the 7 on-demand sessions, and then we develop R&R. We're not going to let it start there. We're going to be doing things to keep this rolling. So, let's start with the first session, overall customer service. Let me tell you a couple of stories. One day, these are not made up stories. One day I was driving to work, and I was going down a major road here in Montgomery called Vaughn Road. And I had a, white van type truck that was advertising, and I won't say who, but an AC heating plumbing company. And as we drove down, I don't know how, but eventually it kept coming over, ran me off the road like into a bank's grassy area. Now it's 7:30 in the morning, and I'm thinking, what is going on? So, but my car wasn't hurt. It just bumped a curve, and I have an SUV. So I bumped back down, rode down the road, and guess who was in front of me at the next light? That same van. Well, as I sat there, a little bit fuming, suddenly I looked at the back of the van, and there on a bumper sticker was, "How's my driving? Call this number." So I picked up my phone and I called the number. And I said, "Yes, I'd like to report that van number XYZ just ran me off the road." Here was the response I got. "How did I know you didn't run him off the road?" Okay, well, y'all, at 7:30 in the morning, I'm kind of sluggish. And I was like, "What do you mean? Why would I call you if I ran them off the road?" Well, I mean, we have no proof of that. Well, y'all, it went from that to even worse to where I was hung up on. So, in this day of social media, and I'm not proud of this, but I am going to tell you this. In this day of social media, I went to my Facebook account, and I said, "Dear friends," thinking nobody would really go do this. How many of y'all have time on your hands? Here's this number. Call and explain. A truck ran, Miss Smith off the road. Well, evidently I have a pretty loyal friend group. Because by 3 o'clock that afternoon, the owner of the company called me and said, "Miss Smith, I don't know what went on. Please get your friends to quit calling us." So I immediately, because I didn't mean to cause that much trouble, went in and deleted the whole comment. But I actually had friends even from South Carolina that were calling long distance to make sure that they got it. So I've never made that mistake again to put something on social media that direct. But here's 2 things about that story. Number 1, will I ever use that company for my heating and air conditioning needs? No. But didn't he resolve it? Absolutely. He called. He even called again that night. "We're so sorry. Let me explain what went on," and he did. And y'all, it was an employee issue, and both problems were taken care of. The employee, the receptionist, and the van driver. And I understand I'm not getting into that. But here's the thing. It left such a bad taste that I'm not going to go back. Well, Charlene, we're state government. If you need us, you got to come back. Not always. And by the way, not even always in the future. We look at what the legislature is hitting now and the talk about privatizing this, that, and the other. Public health is being inundated with more regulations than ever before. And on top of that, you have a population in the state that is changing faster than ever before, meaning the citizens. We've got so much going on right now that just to keep up the customer service needs of citizens, not to mention everything that we're being inundated with I'll just say the healthcare initiative and process. So there are a lot of things that are coming into play here. And we're going to talk about the state government aspect of things and how people don't really have to come to you, or they have to come to you either way. But the idea is this, y'all, is that we really do have a customer service issue out there. I could keep giving you examples of what happened when I bought a grill, and 3 months later I still didn't have the whole grill in my backyard. And by that time the salmon had gone bad that I was going to cook. Or I could talk to you about the lawn care company that fertilizes or doesn't the yard. But y'all have these. Y'all have these type of examples yourself. So the thing is, it's very hard for us to sit back and say, well, I would never be like this, because there are just too many examples that are out there. Well, let's start with what are we going to look at. The information we will cover today is going to be examining the definition of what the heck is excellent anyway. I mean, what is good customer service? Understand that excellent service is your job, and it doesn't matter what position you hold in the public health department. It's your job and yours alone, meaning we can't really worry about what everybody else is doing. Identify the external customers so we can be familiar how to meet their needs and expectations, and we will be dealing with that pretty much each one of the 7 on-demands that we do. But also, we're not going to forget that we have internal customers, internal to public health, in order to further meet organizational goals. For who? For our external customers, those that are outside. Pretty simple, and we'll get this covered today. Let's also cover some that's just a little bit more in-depth. We're going to be able to explain what service over self-interest means. And do we even practice that every day? We're going to know the relationship between the customer service and your daily responsibilities. Yeah, every day that you walk in. Understand and meet the basic needs of each external customer in a short period of time. Because nowadays, y'all, we don't have the length of time you did even 20, 30, maybe even 10 years ago to get a relationship going with the customer, so that we build on the relationship and that draws them back to us as a service provider, and implement the 5 keys of customer service excellence, which we'll get to. So, just some rhetorical questions. Just want you to think about them briefly. Number 1, what are you as supervisors doing each day at work? Second, what are you as employees doing each day at work? Oh yeah, you could list responsibilities. Well, when I walk in, the first thing I do is turn my computer on, or whatever the case may be. But you got to think about what we do daily as more, what are the services that we're providing? Because when we look at our job as providing services, it makes a big difference. See, I can be a robot that gets up and creates PowerPoints for training, or I can be somebody that the PowerPoints and the training is one thing, but am I growing each audience that I speak to? What impact do I have on each audience member? Or when I'm doing one-on-one executive coaching or leadership coaching with somebody, are they impacting a way that changes something for them? And see, when you look at your job instead of duties as to services you provide to internal or external customers, it becomes something totally different. So, third bullet up there, in what ways are your services even being provided? See, the old-fashioned way used to be everything was face-to-face. Now, we've got so much, and I'm just going to I call it the electronic boom of everything, whether it's phone calls, emails, even going back to the old fax, a scan. We got online form. We got so much going on. Customer service, y'all, is actually generated from our hands-on, face-to-face, out from us to an electronic source, if you will. And even those forms, what do they look like? All of that is part of customer service. This is a big one I want you to think about before we get started with the information. What value are you providing to your customer? What value? Now, I don't want to bring up, you're fired, Donald Trump, but if you work for Donald Trump, who fires everybody, are you producing enough value that you're worth keeping on your job? Now, in no way, and I want everybody to know this up front, this is not about getting rid of people, firing, hiring, but I just want you to think about what value are you providing? If we put a dollar figure on, not your time, on the value, what would that dollar figure be? Another question I want you to think about. What makes the public health department here in Alabama stand out from typical government services as compared to all other departments in Alabama? Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and name the 150 or 60, well now maybe less after some of them have been combined, but what makes you stand out from retirement systems? That's an administrative department. Conservation, forestry, Medicaid, revenue, Department of Human Resources, Real Estate Commission, the veterinary agency, all the licensees agencies. And I could name the ABC board, but we know how you stand out from them. They serve liquor. But, so we're not going to try and equal that. But the idea with it is, how do you stand out? When somebody says Alabama state government, who stands up and says, oh yeah, the public health department? Who lifts your name above the other state agencies? And one that is probably newer to even be asking is this: how does the public health department stand out from other health systems or health care providers in Alabama? Oh, wait. What do you mean by that, Charlene? Absolutely. In 2015, even take it 5 or 10 years from now, y'all, things are going to be different. And I'm not talking about government, is going to move too fast, because we all know it doesn't. But at the same time, there are going to be demands, and we've got enough changing in the United States, not just in healthcare, but in so many other things, that there are going to be changes. So we've got to think, how do we compare to other healthcare organizations? And I'm just going to throw some generic names out. But maybe it's a hospital. Maybe it's a doc in the box. And I'm doing that to protect all the different little medical emergency centers, if you will. What about hospitals, cancer centers? And y'all might say, well, no, we don't deal with all that. But will you? Do you deal with some of it? Can you take how they process something at a cancer center and say, well, maybe just the process, the paperwork, we could use better. We could do it and it'd be more efficient. Y'all, there's so many things we've got to start looking at as to what makes public health department stand out from even other healthcare providers and systems. Peter Drucker said this. Now, for some of you, you're like, okay, well, who is he? Peter Drucker is actually he's an internationally known author and speaker whose main drive is in the customer service arena. He says quality in a service or product is not what you and I put into it. It's what the client or customer gets out of it. Now, I'm going to put myself in the spotlight, literally, for a minute. See, it's not the time and effort that I put into research, designing, developing the material today. Oh, that's all fine and good and took time. It's what you get out of it. That is what quality of service means. So it's almost like we got to flip our brains a little bit. But it's almost what we need to be saying, maybe this is my opinion, of society in general. It is not about you. It is not about me. It's about the other person. And in this case, the customer, patient, client, whatever you want to call them, visitor to your office, the person that needs something from you, whether it's internal or external. It's what they get out of it, not what we put into it. So I really want to start with kind of something that's almost too ambiguous to get a hold on, but I want us to just keep it in check. What is good customer service anyway? I mean, it's really hard to tell these things. Let me give you an example of a restaurant that gave great customer service according to my parents and even myself as a young tot or kid. And that was, whenever I give a good example, I'll give the name. It was, if any of y'all heard of Shakey's Pizza Parlor. You probably hadn't, maybe one or two have. It was here in Montgomery. But Shakey's Pizza Parlor, some of y'all are not even going to be old enough to remember the old one. But the families in the town where I grew up, Montgomery, we'd all go there hand in hand on a Friday night at 6. And we'd go in and it was so packed, y'all, you could not get a table immediately. But it's okay because everybody's there and everybody's having fun, and guess what else is going on? There's all these picnic tables. You're right, not normal picnic tables and tables and cloths, picnic tables everywhere. So as you were waiting to sit down on a wooden, splintered table, they would ask you what you want to drink, and at the back on a little stage would be a piano player and a screen that had all these songs. So everybody sang along, take me out to the bar. Y'all, it was constant. Well, we just thought that was the greatest thing in the world. Now I want you to picture walking into that scenario today. You have to wait an hour to an hour and a half when you go in. You sit down and a splinter will just say, pokes you in a particular place. You're seated with other people, not at your own table, because it's just big old picnic tables. You may or may not get your dinner for another hour, and the entire time there's music and everybody's singing. How many of y'all would say, man, that is great customer service? I mean, seriously, think about it today. When you walk in and you don't get seated immediately, what is the first thing we say? How long is the wait? 10 minutes. I'm not waiting for 10 minutes. And we walk away. If we don't get our drink immediately and our food within, say, 5 or 10, you're like, I can't do this, and we never go back to them. Y'all, customer service has changed so greatly, as we have aged. So I want to take you to some great customer service organizations for a minute. Because most of them, like I said in the beginning, it's about a culture change. A culture change. Not individual training. the entire culture changes, which takes a great effort. Let's look at one that some of you may or may not like, but it's Publix grocery store. Okay, what do they do to be different? And I can already hear some of y'all probably saying, well, they jack up the prices is one thing they do. Okay, but remember, customer service is about what is the value you get. Let me give you an example of why I might pay more at Publix. Because when I get there, I get food that I don't necessarily have to prepare. And may I start that by saying I'm not a cook. They have pre-packed, I'm just going to tell you, you can buy hard-boiled eggs already shelled. Sign me up. I don't want those stinky things. I just want to open the bag and get one out. All right, and to keep going, they have a lot of what I want. But there's more than that, than the actual product. When they don't have something, they did not have a particular coffee I liked. I told the manager the next time I was there that a whole section of gourmet coffees. They didn't keep enough sweet tea. I will say for everybody that I have learned to drink diet sweet tea, but it's those Milo's tea, diet tea. They never had enough of diet. Oh, there was plenty of the ones with the red caps, but not enough of the yellow. I went to the manager. I said, look, I'm in here on Tuesdays and Saturdays. His first thing was, why so much? You got a big family? No. I'm out of town so much I can only buy a little bit because it'll be bad by the time the weekend gets here. But you never have enough of the Milo's diet tea. Never, literally, has it happened in the last 3 years again. So it's constantly, and the person who puts your groceries in your bag will ask you, can I take this out for you? I'm fully capable, but on a bad day, I might go, shoot, yeah, come on, let's go. Disney. Okay, do we really need to even talk about Disney? Probably not. Just to give you an idea, you don't ever see Snow White having a bad day. Never do you walk in a Disney property and Snow White is over there and she's smoking a cigarette and drinking a beer going, this is the worst day of my life. No, their cast of characters have to be beyond reproach. I actually have a friend whose daughter now works there as one of the characters. And the things that they have to go through to maintain a perfect customer service image is unbelievable. Don't think we have to be there much. Talk about that. The Ritz-Carlton. When I say the Ritz-Carlton, what's the first thing you think of? Probably it's pricey. After pricey, I would say what else? And you would say luxurious. Now, there's something I want to teach you about that. I'm not saying public health has to become luxurious. What I am saying is, what are you known for? When somebody says public health, what's the next word people think of? If I say Chick-fil-A, people normally are going to say customer service. By the way, I have some friends that are over in Atlanta, Georgia with Chick-fil-A. To get their customer-focused culture, United States-wise, y'all, with any franchise that comes off, there are certain restrictions you have to adhere to. You have to have a leadership coach that flies into your Chick-fil-A in California and measures you and helps coach your manager. There are extensive things people go through because they want to keep that culture. And then Starbucks coffee. And why do I bring them up? They've gone up, they've gone down, they've gone up, they've gone down. And what I mean by up and down is how much customer service and value they're given. And do you know how the owners responded to that? They even shut down 4 hours worldwide to fix an issue that was standing between the customers and the employees. And that thing was an espresso machine that was so big it blocked the view. So they shut down worldwide. Do you know how much money that would have cost them? But they did that for the sake of customer service and creating a culture like that. So I want to go back one more time. When somebody says Alabama Department of Public Health, and I'd say, give me one word you think of, what would that word be? Now, it's hard for any of you to answer because you are the department. But what would your external customers say? What I want to suggest is this really is all about attitude and action. Two simple things, attitude and action. But I'm going to bring it to you in the analogy of an iceberg. Now, I'm not going to stand at the bow of a ship and sing like the Titanic, but I do think we have a lot in common with icebergs as human beings. I hope it's not our shape, but that may be too. At the very bottom of an iceberg, which is the biggest thing, which you and I, we don't see the bottom of an iceberg. For humans, we don't see where people came from. We don't see it. Those of you listening to this, I don't know where you were born, what family environment, economic, social, we could keep going with the different things. I don't know that about you. But what I do know is that out of our beginnings arises what we then have as our beliefs, our values, our thought patterns, and our perceptions. Because it's the only way we can be. If I've raised in this environment, then that is going to be how I think, how I act, how I perceive until I learn differently. And out of those, if we don't learn differently, is behavior. Because out of our beliefs, we behave. Out of our values, we behave. Out of our thoughts, turn into actions. Our perceptions turn into lifestyles. So our behavior, by the way, you can see, where is it? On the tip of the iceberg. And you know why? Because that's the only thing above water. That's all I can see about you. By the way, that's all customers see about you, is your behavior. They don't know if the night before you had a fight with a spouse. They don't know if your teenager threw a fit and you had to deal with it as you were leaving the morning. They don't know all this. All they know is what they see that minute in time. And that minute in time, our behavior should almost like predestine our attitude and our action. As adults, not as children, and I am not Dr. Phil, but as adults, unlike children, we choose our behavior. In any given situation, we make a choice as to how we're going to behave. Oh, y'all, some of it is not conscious to us. I didn't say we sit down every time a customer walks up, say to a given desk, we sit down and go, how do I want to treat this person? No, we don't have that luxury. But it's innate in us. We immediately, through our self-talk, determine what our reaction or action is going to be. So, y'all, we actually determine what our attitude and action is going to be every moment of every day. So let me give you an example. When you come to work each day, what's on your mind? Now just picture yourself driving to work. You're walking in at 7:38 whenever you get to work. What's on your mind? The traffic? Spousal issues? When is 5 o'clock going to get here? Where am I going to go to lunch? I can't believe I have to go to Aunt Fanny's family reunion this weekend. Home responsibilities, fatigue. Let me check my Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest. Personality quirks of some coworker. Or a conflict that you're having with someone. Or, totally separate from that, when you walk in, is your mind filled with these things? Public health, mission, and vision. Now, I don't mean you stand, salute, and quote the mission every day you walk in the doors. But you look at it, your core values, colleagues, the resolution of differences, the needs of customers, your own job responsibilities, opportunities for when you can provide service to one another and to external customers. Opportunities, interpersonal skills to fill those opportunities, innovation, and teamwork. Now I'm going to go back and harp for just a minute on something. And that something is interpersonal skills. Everybody that owns a cell phone can communicate. Text, email, talk. All it takes is a phone, and that's an example. You can communicate. But y'all, everybody does not have interpersonal skills. See, communication is getting information across. Interpersonal skills is how do I greet, initiate, establish, build and develop, maintain a relationship with someone else in the given amount of time we have. Because you may say, well, that's great with coworkers. I can have interpersonal relationships. But you know, you can have a short one with a customer that's with you for 5 minutes. Now, it's not a deep one, but you engage in interpersonal skills. And all of us don't have those. The first column that I showed you is pure self-interest. The second column I showed you is pure service-oriented. If we want to get a customer-focused culture, we have to get all employees and supervisors to start thinking service over self-interest. So which is it for you? Because that's the behavior you bring to work every day. So why does an organization lose external customers? Y'all, this is newer information, but it's an old way of looking at customers, because you may say, well, we don't really care how they go away. 1%, it's a fact of life, are going to die. 3% move away. We're not concerned about that. They can do that here in Alabama. 12% seek. Y'all seek out alternatives. Y'all may say, well, we don't have a competitor. Well, maybe not on this day in June, you don't. 13% are dissatisfied and lose interest with whatever service they're getting. And then y'all look at that bottom figure. 71% leave because of the treatment they receive. All right, so we can't do anything about death. People moving away. All right, maybe 12 just want to go somewhere else. But the last two, and y'all may say that equals more than 100. That's what this was about. It just shows a percentage of all the different factors, and I didn't even add some of them up there that are more minute than 1%. It's treatment of customers. Losing customers. Now that's where I want to come in and talk for just a minute about state government. I'm still a part of state government. I've actually worked for some form of state government. I'm not supposed to say how many years, but we're just going to say over 30 years. Some form of state government. I get the government. And a lot of times, there is nowhere else to go. State government has a unique perspective in that citizens need what we were founded to provide. But as we've not been able to provide that, not just Alabama, city, county, federal, I mean, you name it, anywhere. When we've not been able to provide that, the citizens and their voice, elected officials, whoever, leaders, have come in and tried to change what it is that we provide. I honestly, in fact, I just had a big old debate with a friend of mine who put out there, I'm not going to say what state agency, but here in Alabama, he tried to go get something done. They sent him to 5 different places, and at 5 o'clock, they closed up, and he didn't get what he needed because it was a line. Now, I'm not even going to go with who, what, when, or why, but I wrote back, so-and-so, doesn't your wife work for the state? Yeah, but she's good. I said, well, so-and-so, there are thousands of state employees that are as good as your wife. And I'm one of them. And because he was downing us reading books and all that. But y'all, this is a typical perception sometimes. Now listen to me. When people are mad and didn't get what they want, they then think this way. And nothing is going to stop, no argument on Facebook or whatever social media is going to stop that. But the reasoning, what if we gave them something so that when people say good enough for government work or state workers don't work hard, that becomes a myth. What could we do to turn that into a myth? Well, the first thing is looking at who our customers are. Number one, we have internal customers, and that's the one that kind of freaks some people out. And every time they hear it, they go, yeah, yeah, yeah. And that is internal customers. Where does your work go, and to whom is your work important? So, everybody who is an employee, your supervisor is your customer. Everybody who's a supervisor, are you? Your employee is your customer. In addition to that, you've got to look at, if you are not serving the actual external customer, your job is to be serving someone who is the external customer. So, in public health, the ones I could think of, who are your internal customers? Supervisors, employees, coworkers in your office, county health departments, other divisions, bureau, colleagues. So in other words, anybody that works in public health could be a potential customer of yours. That's internal. So I should actually be treating you with as much respect, passion, enthusiasm, commitment as I do an external customer. But sometimes we take it out on the people we work with. So let's look at, who are the external customers we serve? Well, by definition, anybody is an external customer if they're the source of your revenue, if they're the user of your product or service, or if they went away, you would not be in business. And for y'all, that's every citizen. Am I correct? Every citizen has a potential to be a customer of y'all's. So who would it actually be? Generically, all public. Other state government agencies, employees that needs calls. It could be something as the other agencies that are health related, that at times y'all get together to make decisions about the important health issues here in the state. It's a recipient of any inspections or regulations. When inspecting, I know I'm going to get some flack here. When an inspector of a nursing home or a food establishment goes out to inspect, it is very hard for them to think, this is my customer. Now, before I get in an argument with anyone, I've already been in that argument, because at a university where I used to work, I taught customer service to the faculty. And faculty, professors, do not think students are customers. But without students, they wouldn't have a teaching job. So here's how you establish things with inspections and so forth, and assessments. It is how you treat customers when you are not in the inspection. You do it fair according to regs, according to whatever it is, protocol that you do. But it's how you treat the people around outside of that. And then vendors and other community service providers that your department staff may get involved with. So what are the basic customer needs for public health? Well, two things. Sometimes y'all have products, and sometimes y'all have services that are needed by the citizens. Your products, as you already know, some of them can be certificates, permits, applications, licensing, documents, publications. And your services are, as you see, the many different programs that you have information about that, education, testing, compliance, home health, medical enforcement, assessment. And I put etc. because that went on and on with the services y'all provide. Those are the basic needs. I would come to you as a citizen, as John Q. Public, because I need one of these things. But that's my basic need. But there is always something higher needed. I may need that in my hands or that service provided, but there's more expectation than that behind everybody. The other day, I was picking up, it was later at night, one of my late night training sessions. I was driving home at 8, and I stopped at a fast food restaurant because I wanted to get a salad. So when I got to the speaker system, there was a great song on the radio. And I thought, man, they got to be as tired as I am at 8 o'clock at night. So when they said, what do you want? The song fit that question. So I just started singing it into it. And they got a lot of laugh out of it. And I then ordered. So I drive around to the window. And the minute I got to the window, they already had a crowd of employees that were singing that song back to me with my meal ready, my salad ready to give me. Okay, now we don't have to be entertaining outside of that, but will I go to that particular fast food again? Absolutely I will, and probably that one, because I know their employees know how to engage in interpersonal relationships along the way. So when I think of getting a salad now, y'all may not want this, but I think of fun. I do. There's always something more than the actual product or service that you get. So what are some higher level customer service needs? Reliability, responsiveness, assurance, empathy, and then what we're going to call tangibles for the moment. But y'all think about this. If I go to an insurance company and I say, I want insurance on my car, I get a policy and I pay them money. But what does that policy really represent? That is my security. That if I wreck my car, injure someone or myself, so it is security. It is about reliability, because what they say they'll do, will they do it? And are they going to be consistent as I change from, say, agent to agent when people retire? I've had that recently. Are they responsive? When I call them and say, I've had a fender bender, does it take 2 and 3 weeks for them to get back with me or to process some action? And of course, we could keep going. So there's always a higher level purpose that we're meeting in our customers. So we're going to look at the first one, which is reliability. If you look it up, Webster's Dictionary, it actually uses these 3 words. Reliable means responsive, dependable, and trustworthy. Uh-oh. I may be reliable, but you can't trust me. That didn't happen. You're not reliable unless all 3 of those come through. So what do we mean about being responsible, dependable, and trustworthy? Being reliable is our promise. First of all, when a customer walks into a clinic or your office, y'all, when they show up at the Alabama Department of Public Health and we step up to the desk in the office, whatever, just our mere existence there at that moment in time gives a personal promise that we will help you. I mean, if not, don't go to work that day. Your human body showing up in a facility with the ADPH logo on it means you're there to serve. So there's a personal promise. There's also an organizational promise, be it public health or state government as a whole. You're here by some governmental proclamation to fulfill their needs. And then lastly, being reliable also means a public perception promise. What is the public perception? If y'all don't know it, let me tell you. We pay your salaries, buy our taxes, now we need our service in return. Now, please realize that the public perception promise, you can't change that, but you can choose not to meet it. All I'm saying is being reliable is how you live up to your promise. You know, it's the same way with friendships. It's the same way with the spousal relationship or with children, your children. Being reliable is kind of issuing a promise to them. In public health, it's your personal, your organizational, and your public perception promise. So I'm just going to deal with the immediate thing we always ask. But what do we do if we don't keep our promise? What if it's a horrible, their expectations didn't get met, we screwed up, whatever the case may be. We didn't screw up, but they think we screwed up. Number one thing, you don't start blaming, y'all, seriously, look at this. Your lips zip if all that's going to come out of them are reasons or excuses or blaming. Yo, the only word that needs to come out of your mouth is, I apologize. Let's practice that together. I apologize. Yo, how simple is that? Admit that it's gone wrong. I'm so sorry this happened. And then to yourself, ask the question, what does the customer need right now? What can I do right here, right now that can help make right this situation? Now I'm going to take you back to a story that I told you earlier about a white van of a heating air conditioning. 7:30 in the morning, ran me off the road. I called, how is my driving? And I said, van number XYZ ran me off the road. None of the rest of the day would have happened if this is what I'd heard. I'm so sorry. That should not have happened. Please give me the number of the van and I will take care of it. Now, y'all, I want y'all to hear this. They may not have taken care of anything, but my perception of their reliability, of them answering their promise, was done. And y'all, I would have gotten to my job, and by noon, I wouldn't have thought again about that company. Y'all, half of resolution is just simply saying, I apologize this happened. I mean, I realize this has been a hardship. And then thinking to yourself, what does the customer need now and doing it? Y'all, you will erase so many potential customer issues by just saying that. Now, when they walk out the door, you may turn around and go, but it's not our fault. But you never let them hear that. I mean, you may go in your boss's office and pound your head against the wall, but the thing is, this is not what you do in front of them. I apologize. I'm sorry it went wrong. Let me see what I can do for you. Y'all, that just took probably 3 seconds to say. It seems like to me we'd be able to live with that. So, let's talk about the promises. Do you know that it takes 12 positive service experiences to make up for one negative experience? I mentioned briefly about a grill and my salmon. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole story, but let's just say there is a big box place that sells all kind of yards and grill stuff. It took me months to get a very simple grill, y'all. This is nothing fancy. It's going to take them, for them screwing that up, if you will, it's going to take 12 times that I have a very positive customer service interaction with them. But here's the question. Will I even go back there? Or will I go to the one that's sitting right next door to it? I'll go to the one next door. So, we'll get into this in one of our later sessions in the summer. But here's the thing. If I had had 12 positive experiences, that one ahead of time, that one that went wrong, studies say I would have let that kind of go and go, well, they just hit a snafu this time. Do y'all realize 12 different times we have to please customers to equate to them, if you will, letting go of one negative experience? This, my friends, is how sensitive trust is between a business and its customer. In today's very sensitive trust. We're going to look at responsiveness. If you are responsive, it means you react in a positive way and you're pretty quick about it. If you listen to almost any news or detective show, one of the things that you'll see is that police and ambulances are expected to be responsive. The police didn't get here for 12 minutes. And on some detective shows, that's huge. So it is about quickness. Let's just leave it that way. Quickness. So the question is, how responsive are you? Let me give you some that will help you out. First of all, if and only if you have repeat customers. If you take time to get there, to know them, you can almost predict their needs. There is one little gas station, we call it stop and rob shops. That's what I call them. Just little, used to be called magic markets or something. Anyway, there's one I stopped there. It's near to my house. And I've gone there so much that when I walk in, they'll say like, here for your tea? Do you need another XYZ? Whatever it is. They anticipate because I've been going there so long. So customer service is not a big deal with them. If you get to know them, you can start to get your mind on the same wavelength. Now, I know many of you saying, well, that doesn't apply to me. I don't ever see the same person twice. Maybe so, but that's just something to keep in mind. And by the way, you will have this because of internal customers. If I'm an employee, I have a supervisor and I have coworkers who are my customers, internal customers. Have I taken time to get to know what they really need so that when they walk in my office, I walk into theirs, or I go down the hall, I can almost predict what I need in order to serve them? That's part of customer service also. Answer customers immediately if there's an answer. If there's an answer. I don't know if you've been through it, and maybe I have, and y'all, maybe I'm impatient on certain days. But sometimes I find myself with places that I frequent just going, I just need a yes or no answer to that. Y'all don't need to know that 5 years from now it'll be shipped from Detroit to where. I just need to know. That happened with one of our carrier companies. I'll put it that way. I just need to know, did my package get there, yes or no? I don't need to know that it went through, Canada to get to Australia. I just need to know this. Sometimes just the quick answer is the best possible, but that's impossible. If needed, make sure that you direct customers to, if you're not the person, to someone else. Make sure it's the appropriate and you get it right the first time. If you are on the same campus, floor, building, whatever your scenario is around the state where you work, you might be able just to walk them down the hall to the correct person. Because responsiveness, y'all may say, well, why should I do that? Can't I just tell them it's room 240 or whatever? Yeah, you can. But responsiveness is from the customer's viewpoint. And if I walk out to go to room 240, and for some reason I can't find it, my time has just been delayed. Whereas you could have gotten up, gone out into a hallway or outside and pointed down the street, or led me to the door or to the other person. Y'all, that is so important, and we need to start thinking in that way. Also, if the customer must wait, at that moment, it will take me 10 minutes to get what you need, or we can get that for you in 3 weeks, whatever it is. Let them know how long. Some of us, for some reason, have been told, and probably customer service training, to be honest, that don't give them an exact time, because then when you don't hit it, you're looked at as wrong. There was a quote I heard, it had probably been 15 years ago, and it said this: customers don't mind the waiting, it's the not knowing how long that becomes a frustration. I was at a doctor's appointment the other day, And it had been a little bit of time, but I just went up. I said, can you tell me how much longer it's going to be till my appointment comes up? Well, it's going to be a while. So, okay, it may be my humor or the lack thereof, but I said, could you translate that into minutes? Okay, I know you probably don't want to deal with me because when I train this, I think it every second of my life. And they went, no, I can't translate it. And I was like, okay, 3 patients in front of me, 10 patients, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours. Just give me a frame of reference. Oh, well, there's X number of patients in front of you. Do y'all see? It's just they want something that they can kind of hold on to because it's the not knowing that is the bad part of this. Another personal strategy for responsiveness is make sure that you follow up with customers to ensure the information was received. Now, again, I can hear half of the public health department out there saying, I'm not going to follow up with everybody. It doesn't mean, if appropriate, if you can, if you know. Let me just give you an example of what I'm doing on demand with y'all today. When I finish, I can't possibly call everybody that viewed this first session and say, what can I do for you? Did you learn? But I can, if I have an ongoing relationship with someone, I can call the person I'm dealing here with in public health and I can ask them, did they get what they wanted out of that first session? So it's not about everybody, it's about the ones that you have an ongoing working relationship with. So if you look at, we've covered so far, you have to be reliable. Why? Because that's what people are looking for. You've got to be responsive. The third one is assurance. Now, assurance, y'all, is kind of a weird word. In fact, if you think about it, we don't really use it much. We use ensure, E-N-S-U-R-E, but to assure somebody, some of us don't even know when to use one or the other. But assurance is, according to Webster's Dictionary, to inspire full confidence, to demonstrate competence as opposed to confidence. And the last one I love, leave others completely free from doubt. Wow. And y'all, this thing about this definition, you can't put your finger on this. You can't say, yes, I picked up assurance yesterday. You don't pick it up. You don't buy it. You don't give it away. It is completely through your attitude and action that we give these. When I'm speaking right now, and I just want you to think of it, and I don't want any feedback on it right now. I'll get that from the person I need. But do I inspire customer service training? Okay, let's just pin it down to a 2-hour session or whatever it's going to be. Do I put across to y'all listening to this that I'm confident about what I'm saying? That do I demonstrate, and would you think, dang, she sure does know all about customer service. She's analyzed that stuff to death. And when you leave here, are you free from doubt about the information that we covered? That's what we are to give if we are to provide assurance to people. So how does that look? Assurance, you just shuck it down to the cob or where the fork meets the grits, whatever you want to use. It is simply this. It's the use of our skills and abilities. Our competence is shown to others by how we provide service. So if we don't get service, then we think the person is incompetent, which means I'm not too assured. I can't rest assured in what they're doing. And y'all, this is important everywhere, but I am just going to take a second to talk about the health clinics. If I walk in and I'm a patient at your health clinic, I need assurance. Oh my goodness, I need assurance that you're competent and that I think that you're acting like you're very confident in your competent. competence. And that I walk out of that clinic free from doubt, that you did something wrong. But y'all, it's not just in the clinics, it's also everywhere else. Everywhere else. It needs to be. So our service demonstrates our competence. So let's look at it. We've got to be able to know some things. Number one, you got to know your job duties. I was recently consulting with an organization, and we'd been asked to do this, to go in and do focus groups and surveys that indicated, do people know their jobs? Y'all, there are people that are in jobs that do not know their jobs. Very interesting enough. You need to know everything about your job, but it goes up from there. You need to know about your coworkers' overall duties. Because when I said, I can't help you with that, but I would like to turn you over to, Sally Sue, I need to know that Sally Sue is the person that does that. Various services of your division, section, and bureau. We're taking this up a notch. Me, then what my coworkers. Now we go out a little bit more. It's your division, bureau, section, clinic, whatever. We need to know various services that are provided. Now, you don't need to know time, date of programs, facts about it, but you need to know in general those services being provided. And then even more than that, everybody hold your teeth. If you got dentures, here we go. You need to know all of ADPH services. Okay, Shirlane, that's just utterly ridiculous. I cannot know out of everything we do. I didn't say you got to know everything. See, as you build up from knowing concretely your job to knowing a lot about your coworkers' jobs, to knowing overall what programs and services and who is our contact for that. But the next area is knowing whether or not Department of Public Health provides something. And y'all, this is not difficult. This takes one look on your website. You can go in, believe me, I've been doing that. You can go into so many different pages, go down. I can find out almost everything I need to know about the services and programs offered, even if I don't personally provide that. Very important for us to know, because that's how we provide assurance. Competency to the customer means this. First of all, your knowledge. Second of all, that you're making sound judgments about me and what I need from you. Third, that you are able to engage in complex decision making. And by the way, anybody who went to college, university, 2-year school, whatever, or graduate from high school, you have a bachelor's, there is not a class named decision making. It may be taught in a certain class, but y'all, there's some skills out there such as judgment and decision making and problem solving that we don't learn in school. There is no course. Problem solving 101, you only have to deal with the chicken in the cart problems. No, there's none of those. So these are things we have to develop along with our knowledge, because sound judgment is as it relates to our knowledge. Complex decision making is as it relates to our decision making process. And then listening skills, which is almost obsolete in our society. Because I either have my earbuds on, I'm talking on the cell phone, I'm so ingrained in a task that I can't listen to everything you say because I'm thinking of what I need to say. That listening skills is almost a lost art, and we're going to deal with that in one of the other sessions. And then your problem solving skills, definitely something that you weren't born with that as you come along. So those are things we're going to be looking at over a period of this summer as we engage in the 7 sessions. Service Wisdom, a book, says this: consistent, high-quality service boils down to 2 equally important things: Yes, 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 your competence, but also your caring. So the fourth area is empathy. Now, let me describe this. This doesn't mean you crawl over the desk or counter and start crying with an individual. But what it does mean is that you show that you comprehend their need and emotional state. That you identify with and understand the other person's situations, feelings, and motives. Now, many of us deal with this, but I'm going to go ahead and say an example that I'm going through right now. I have a good friend of mine that was diagnosed with a certain form of cancer. I don't know how to measure all the different treatments that she's getting, but let's just say 2 months in, she's at a low point, physically, emotionally, mentally. Y'all, I can't say I know that. I mean, if you want to compare it, I've had skin cancer removed from my face. But it's nothing like that. So I can't even say I understand your mental and emotional state, or the situation, or the feeling, or the motives and intentions of what she's doing on an individual day. But I can show I comprehend from what she says and the way she acts. And I can identify and understand of someone in that situation. So it doesn't say we produce sympathy. It says that we have empathy. We empathize with people along the way. And let me go back for just a second. I do want to say one more thing. So many times when you and I work with the same thing every day, given the same program, the same form, the same assessment, we see the same patient with, or different patients, but the same illness, whatever it is, y'all, we become immune, calloused to that. And sometimes instead of getting more and understanding the situation, we just put a big old wall up and go, next. Sure, I understand. Next. And the reason we do that is because we are so familiar with it. Y'all, sometimes we need to step back and start to think, this isn't about me. Service over self-interest. And it's what the customer goes away with, not what I give. So if this customer thinks, I didn't have empathy for this situation, or this patient, or this organization that you're out working with, then I've got problems with empathy. So how do we show, what are some strategies for caring? Number one, and these are going to go, all the strategies are going to go across a gamut, but first of all, look directly at or focus on the person. And for most people, y'all, I'm going to be honest, it's direct eye contact. And if I had somebody up here with me, I would show you, it is, let's say the other person's face is right here. It is continually looking straight into their eyes. But a lot of people are very uncomfortable with doing this. So they'll do things, they'll look down or they'll look away or they blink. That's okay. But this isn't. Well, listen, one of the things I can help you with, all this is saying is I can't make direct eye contact. I'm not capable. I'm not competent in interpersonal skills. And we have to go back to one of these other things we've talked about today. Reliability, assurance, those things come into play. So some of it is focusing directly on the person and direct eye contact. Another strategy, always use their name if you know it. So always ask. You know, I'm waiting for somebody at a burger joint, because some restaurants do this, but to come up and instead of going, how can I help you, go, hey, I'm Charlene, what's your name? Oh, you're Jamie? What would you like to eat today, Jamie? If they use my name, I probably would go no place else. Ask if you don't know their name. Part of it, that's one of the first things that shows empathy, is getting to know somebody's name. Because it shows you're willing to go an extra step to get to know a little bit about them. Avoid formulating a response while the other person is talking. And there's kind of several reasons. Number one is we do it for battle. Well, I know what I'm going to say back to this person, this jerk. But there's also another reason, is we do it when we think we already know what they need. You don't know what somebody else needs. Not really, and empathy isn't shown generically across everybody who walks through your doors on a given day. Empathy is one by one. So it means I can't start a response in my head to you while you're talking if I'm going to have empathy. And that's where that comes across, is that I'm really hearing every word coming out of your mouth, and that's showing empathy. Another strategy, wait until the other person is finished talking before you begin talking. Y'all, this is such common sense, but my question is, then why don't we do it? I find myself interrupting people all the time, and this is how it begins. They're talking, I go, yeah, I can understand why you need that. So I just split their story in half for what? Let's think about this. For self-interest. So I can save myself time in having to listen to your boring story. That's what we're saying. Y'all, that's not empathetic. That's not empathetic. Always listen first. Another strategy, treat the customer as a partner, because in today's world they are. And I do want to somewhat get you to start looking at people as partners. When I'm working out in the private sector and with corporations, in particular the bigger ones that are nationwide or global, here's one of the things I know. They've already started transitioning their words. They don't say customer, they say our partner that needs services from us. Because if you're my partner, what does that mean? We're in business together. That means I got to see you and live up to you. What I've done, given, provided over time. And that's what we need to start doing here in state government. But I'm particularly interested in public health because when I was in a state government agency, it is not unknown to everybody that y'all were one of my favorite departments. And I think some of it is because y'all deal with humans, and that's where my passion is too. Though I know nothing about medically health related stuff, it's just a passion of other organizations that take care of people. But the idea is we've got to start saying these are our partners, because y'all, in the end, and let's take it to the end, you're standing before your potential tombstone. As you look back on your life, you didn't do one thing alone. Everything took somebody else. Your first outfit, a onesie, you didn't make it and put it on yourself. Your mama bought it. And by the way, she probably had a shower so that other people bought it for you. You see what I mean? Y'all, there's not one thing that is ever done by ourselves if you think about it over time. Yes, it is, Charlene. I take a shower by myself every day. Okay, who provides that water? What company? Where'd you buy the soap? How about the sponge? How about your hair shampoo? Y'all, there's literally nothing we do in life, if you think about it, that is teetotally alone throughout life. We're partners. Also, put yourself into their role. And to do that means we'll validate their situation, their questions, their comments, their concerns. We are not in their role, but part of empathy is saying, okay, and I'm going to go to my friend for just a minute. Last week was one of the treatment weeks. So I had some time open on Friday, and I texted and I said, hey, I can run up to your house, blah, blah, blah. No, friend, I just can't have it today. And you know something? I wrote back, completely get it. Now, I didn't say I understand completely what you're going through. No, it was just, I get it. I've not had cancer treatments. I've not had cancer in that way. But the idea is, I just sit and go, wow. Surely, after all this, she is not up for company. I wouldn't. I'd be like barricading the door from even a spouse. Don't you come near me. I want to be alone. So we also validate some of their questions or concerns only when we can put ourselves in that role. And a pretty typical one for empathy is focus on the problem, not the person. In other words, don't think about the person standing in front of you. Think about the situation they have at hand. Now that's pretty hard when somebody is yelling and screaming and angry. But one thing you do have to remember is when a customer is yelling, screaming, or angry, it's really not at you. It's either at a system or it's at what's going wrong in their life. You alone, your name, is not at times the entire issue. And I love it when I hear people talking, just personally, my friends that'll say, you know, I was about to let them have it, and then I realize they really don't control any of this. And I'll go, bingo. Now, if we on this side of the customer could start to realize that, which means we can't really lose our composure. We have to be able to maintain that and let the customer's emotions, if they escalate, we remain the same. And you know, one of the little things for dealing with difficult people in a class that I teach like that simply says this: the louder they get, some of y'all have heard this, what do our voices do? We get lower. Because if we start ours going down as theirs going up, it actually starts to bring all of us back to a norm of speaking. So maintain your composure regardless. And if you don't understand what they're talking about, what their needs are, or their questions, just ask them, y'all. I'm so sorry, I cannot understand. Can you clarify for me what you want? And they may, because I've done this. Well, I don't really know what I want. Let me tell you what the thing is, what the deal is. And that's how I'll say it. And you know what? If somebody hadn't asked me that, I probably wouldn't have admitted I have no idea what I need. I just know I need something. Because your address, this is where I was told to come. State things in a positive manner. Now, I really do want, as much as this is going to seem difficult to do, I want you to start working on this. Here's one of the things. We can't do that. No, I'm sorry, we can't provide that. Y'all, how can you state that positively? And there may be no way with a few things, but even if you said this, oh, I wish I could help you with that. I wish there was a way we could really do that. However, y'all, there's some words, and I want you to write them down, whatever the handout you're using. This is it. Get rid of words, these. But, B-U-T. Should, always, never, must. And I want you to put in words, like start saying these words more. However, perhaps, and maybe. What I did was simply, it's no magic to this, the words over here are direct, opinionated, and ultimatums. The words over here, even though you may not, the answer may be no, these puts it in a gray or more ambiguous subjective manner while you say no. Man, I wish I could do this, and maybe one day we can, but right now that's not something I'm able to provide. That is much more, I just put some empathy in with saying no to you. Those are ways that you can, another strategy that you can use. Remain optimistic and don't make them feel hopeless. Man, I don't know what you're going to do. I mean, I don't know. I'd crawl under a rock if I were you. I mean, I have no idea. But don't make them feel hopeless in what they're going to do. Here quickly are some caring phrases that I'm not going to elaborate on because you just say the phrase. I can see why you feel that way. I see what you mean. That must be very upsetting. You know, I want to help you get this resolved. I understand how frustrating this must be. I'm so sorry about this. I understand your concern. How can I help? You know, my goal here is to find a solution for you. Can you tell me a little bit more about this situation, problem, issue? More, that is a problem. I don't blame you for feeling upset about that. Perhaps I can help you through this process. You see how perhaps came in? It's not saying I can. It's not saying I will. It says I'll try. I will make sure this is corrected right away. And in fact, this one kind of always works. You know something, that is so important. I know my supervisor's going to want to know about this and that it's occurred. In fact, I'm going to talk to him or her today. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Thank you for letting me help you. Those are all things that fall under empathy. You know, seriously, if somebody said, Chick-fil-A is another one. When you drive away from the window, what do they say? My pleasure. Really? Should be mine. I just paid for food. No, it's their pleasure for serving me. It always ends the encounter with a positive note. Last of the areas we're going to talk about is tangibles, which is a real rough word, simply to mean anything that's real, actual, tangible. You can touch it, you can feel it, it has a physical existence. So you ready for those? They include, yes, part of customer service is your grooming. Grooming, not to be confused with attire. Grooming pretty much is your hygiene factor. Not just hygiene, but also your hair. If you have facial, well, I'm talking to men, women, I don't know what you can do with facial hair, but men, it would be like, and I'm just going to tell it to you straight, men. I have to do this all the time when I'm teaching network and professionalism for people. If you have facial hair, it's so cool. By the way, it is fully accepted now. You can be professional as can be, but here's the one thing about, for instance, and women, this is your hair in the front and the back too. It needs to be groomed. You can't just let it grow into straggling things. And I think there's what is that show? The Duck something? Duck Dynasty. I'm sorry, I've got to admit I don't watch it. Duck Dynasty, yeah, we can't have those beards, okay? And the mustaches that you're like going, okay, I can't see your lips. Can I get through them? Grooming is about how you present yourself in certain areas. Attire got to be within guidelines and what is seen as professional. And I'm going to pick on the women for a minute. Let me go back to attire. Women. Now, everybody that's listening is now going to go look up on some website about women if this is correct. On average, a woman should not have on more than 7 pieces of jewelry. Otherwise, so somebody validates that. And that includes 1 earring, 2 earring, 3 rings, this, a watch, and a bracelet, because they're not connected, 3. So you can't have bangles up your elbow going, hey, jingle, jingle, can I help you? The idea is that can be as distracting as, say, the grooming for men. So just something to keep. Another thing that's tangible is eye contact. Do I even make eye contact with you? We're going to be working on some of these. Your greeting. Do you have one or is it this? Next. I loved it. Okay, this actually happened. And I'm going to say something on a recording. And what I mean by that is this will be out there. But I was in a doctor's office. My name is Charlene Smith. But at birth, I have a first name that is not used because to me it's like from Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm or something. In fact, there's a witch named after it. And it is Glenda Charlene Smith. Glenda the Good Witch of the East, I believe. So at least I'm a good witch, but for some reason I've never associated with Glenda. So I'm in a doctor's office the other day. And I still love this doctor's office, but the door swung open, and you know how somebody will come out to get you, and then they lean against the door and put their foot up. Glenda! Glenda! Is Glenda here? Well, y'all, I'm just reading the magazine. I don't answer. I don't write it. Credit cards. The only thing it is on my driver's license. My checks aren't in, nothing is in that name. Glenn, does anybody know, hey, somebody, this was at the reception, did Glenda leave? And I was like, oh, no, did you mean Charlene? No, Glenda. Needless to say, your greeting should be important. I'm not talking about that, but it shouldn't be next. Or maybe it should be in that scenario. I would love to have Charlene come on back. Now, something. You just don't inundate it with a scream or with nothing. Also, and that's on, by the way, that's on telephone also. And it is with emails. You always have a greeting. You don't just start into your email. We'll cover some of that. Facial expressions. Hey. Eyes wide. A smile. Actions. Interpersonal skills. Again, things we're going to look at along the way. Yes, I've already mentioned even the appearance of materials, the forms, the programs, the folders of the program information, whatever you hand out. The ability, by the way, of how well you write or email is considered customer service. The neatness of your desk or office or whatever it is, work area. Appearance of office. Okay, I'm going to go back to neatness of desks and appearance of office. One time, and I love this story, y'all know the Department of Forensic Science. I had an extensive work assignment with them, so I was around them for about 6 months. And as I traveled around to the different locations, their offices are not normal. I mean, not just the coroners and the medical, where the bodies come in, but I'm talking about, you walk into even the director of a facility, and instead of having this beautiful sunset picture, there's all these different bullets that have killed people, so they would know the impact of what happens when a bullet goes in. I mean, it's not normal, but you know what it is? It's neat. Not neat like that's so cool, but it's always organized. You could have a skeleton hanging in yours, and they do, but it needs to be in a way that it looks organized, neat, structured. The appearance of the overall office, the cleanliness is huge nowadays, as we know. And by the way, cleanliness would be in a health situation anyway. The overall look of the facility. Now, some of you work in buildings that you do not upkeep the outside, but some of you maybe do. And here's the idea. You need to know that it makes a difference if the grass is cut, if it's edged, if flowers are dead, if the front door has spider webs everywhere. All of those things make a difference. And then lastly, which is hard to regulate in state government, but the amount of staffing that you have. Do you have enough or they're not enough and people are rushing around looking like they're in a panic? Those type things. Those are all areas of customer service. So you've got basic needs of products and services, but behind every product, behind every service, there are 5 areas that people consider a higher level of customer service. Number 1, reliability, your dependability. And do you know something? McDonald's is a good example of that one. It doesn't matter if you eat a hamburger in Alabama or in China, their hamburger is the same. It's reliable. It's going to taste like a McDonald's hamburger, which is kind of fun when you think about it. Responsiveness, immediately. Assurance, 2 things, and I get these tongue-tied, but it's kind of fun to say. Confidence and competence. Do you have confidence in your competence? And are you competent at your confidence? So I'll let y'all play mind games with that for a little bit. Empathy, and then the tangibles that are out there. Peter Drucker, again, I want to bring up, that did write a book, Service Over Self-Interest, said this: the single most important thing to remember about any enterprise is that there are no results inside the walls. The result of a business is a satisfied customer. It's not about when you lock your door at 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever it is, and all of you get in your cars and you drive home. Customer service is sitting at home, the customer that was at your facility that day. What are they thinking? Are they satisfied? And know the word, we're going to talk later on. Satisfied just means minimal. We didn't say they're jumping up and down and rented a plane and pulled a banner that said ADPH across the sky. We just said, are they satisfied? Oh, there's a lot more. Excellence, engaged, devoted. There are a lot of other areas with customer service we'll be looking at. People are constantly observing your behavior. And by the way, when you're observing people's behavior, it is automatic for us as humans to assume or form theories about your competence, your character, your commitment, and then those are rapidly disseminated. If it's coworkers, through your workplace. If it's not if it's an external, through social media or whoever they're doing it that night. I mean, just think about it. If you ever go to a mall, or used to, and you sit down and you watch people, your mind would go, oh, he's got shifty eyes, he must be a criminal. I mean, we do that. Not even trying to be we make assumptions of people. The idea is, what assumptions can be made about you? Because this is turning it around. The thing is, like the picture shows, the perception of us by others may be very different than our perceptions of ourselves. If I want honest feedback about myself, y'all, I do not go home from a seminar and say, what do I think about how it went? I'm biased. I'm subjective. I can only see what I did. I go to other people to provide feedback because it is their perception that matters anyway. There's 3 underlying elements of individual service: character, competence, and commitment. Why am I bringing this in? Just at the end, I kind of want to just put something else out there. These are the 3 things that public health should represent to everybody that enters the walls of your services or products. Character is who you are. Competence is what you do. Okay, so let me play with those 2 for a minute. Here's the circle of character. Here's the circle of competence. Competence is what you do. Now, everybody that are grammar goddesses, please excuse this next expression. Competence is what you do. Character is who you be. Who I be, what I do. You know why? Because it's being and doing. And as beings, we do. And what we be becomes what we do. Now, for everybody that I just mixed up, just going back to your own thinking, I want to interject that because y'all, character affects competence, and competence affects our character. And we have to have both, filled with excellence. And then our commitment. It shows through. If I don't care about my job and about the customer, it shows. And how much you care is really how much you're committed. Because if you study what makes job commitment, you'll know what it is. I understand my job, I agree to it, and I have personal interest in doing it. Most people in America, including me and most of y'all listening, we take a job, we understand what it is, and we agree to it because we need a paycheck. It's this third area that makes all the difference. Do you have personal interest in what you go do every day? That passion, y'all, is what ignites customer service and what leaves people with the turned off perception of public health. The customer's perception is your reality. Y'all know I could fight with that guy on Facebook, and it's a friendly fight because we do know each other. But I could go back and forth defending state government, and it doesn't really matter what any of us defend. People are going to believe, and that's going to be their reality, regardless of what we do. So, here's a homework. Here we go for the first homework. It's going to be very simple. I want you to think about what we've said over the last hour and a half. And what will you commit to individually to start doing, stop doing, and continue doing? So by the way, y'all, that can take all of 3 minutes tops. Because just what you heard today, what are you going to start doing? Let me give you an example. I'm going to consider my supervisor a customer. Well, that took 3 seconds. Number 2, what are you going to stop doing? Answer that one. And then what are you going to continue to do because you're doing it quite well? When you finish that brief little documentation, I want you to email it to your supervisor within 3 business days. Why? Why? One, is it not obvious? If you don't email it to somebody, it's not going to get done. And the other is this: when they do email to supervisors, and eventually I meet with some supervisors, I will begin to see what is making sense and what is changing behavior. That's really what this is about, too, to form some of the other things that we'll be doing during customer service initiative throughout the next 18 months. So I'm going to leave you with what I believe is a truly great individual, though he had his faults also. It's something Walt Disney said. Do what you do so well that they'll want to see it again and bring back their friends. Now, I already know some of y'all are going, this is not Disneyland. This is not Disney World. I know that. That's why I used it, because it will get your attention. They don't want to be able to bring a friend back to, you inspecting a restaurant. Hey, inspect this one too. Or at a clinic. Hey, come see, even though you're not sick, come see. The idea is this, y'all, is that I wanted to get that and that ingrained in you, but what if you could? Do whatever you do so well that if your service or product was something that attracted the crowds, everybody that you come eye to eye with daily would want to come back and bring a friend. It's not an amusement park. Public health is not an amusement park, but y'all, here's the thing. It is something so much more serious. It is something so much more impactful. What you do impacts individuals and out into the entire society here in Alabama. Whether you're in epidemiology, you're in a lab, you're an inspector, and I know I'm using generic names here, or if you are a nurse in a clinic or at home health going into people's homes. Y'all, or if you are tied down at a desk with paperwork, because I know what that's like. Once you move out, you don't go out and do as much hands-on. Are you doing it so well that whoever walks in your office would be like, dadgummit, this is great. And that's what I want you to think about, because customer service is not just about satisfying. It's about gaining people who are devoted to your customer culture focus. And that's what we want ADPH to be. Y'all, thank you so much for attending and listening to this First On Demand. And I will see you at the next one. Thank you so much.